The rain had been falling all day, turning the city into a blur of gray streets and golden reflections on the wet pavement. Inside a small diner on the corner of Elm and Maple, a man sat alone at a booth meant for four. His name was Ethan. A single dad who had gotten used to the silence that followed him everywhere. Steam rose from his untouched coffee, curling toward the ceiling in the soft, warm light. He wasn't waiting for anyone. Not anymore. But what he didn't know was that tonight, he wouldn't be alone for long. Because in just a few minutes, a mother and her little boy would walk through that door. And nothing in Ethan's life would ever be the same again. The diner was quiet. Only the faint hum of an old jukebox and the sound of rain tapping against the window filled the air. Ethan scrolled through his phone. Pictures of his late wife and daughter flashing before him. He sighed, the ache in his chest familiar. Dinner alone had become routine, but it never stopped hurting. Then the bell above the door jingled. A woman stepped inside, soaked from the rain, holding the hand of a small boy. Her coat was too thin for the weather. Her hair clung to her face. And her eyes searched the room like she didn't belong there. The boy pressed close to her side, his eyes wide at the warmth of the diner. They hesitated, unsure where to sit. Then the boy's stomach growled, loud enough that the waitress looked up from the counter. The woman flushed red, whispered something to her son, and then turned toward Ethan's booth. "Excuse me," she said softly. "My son's hungry, would it be okay if we sat here for a while?" Ethan blinked, surprised. He didn't know why his heart suddenly raced. Maybe it was the look in her eyes, tired, but still holding a trace of hope. Without thinking, he nodded. "Of course," he said. "Please, have a seat." The boy grinned instantly, sliding into the seat across from him. The woman sat down carefully, holding the menu like it was fragile. Ethan noticed. He called the waitress over and said quietly, "Put their meals on my tab." The woman shook her head. "No, I can't let you." "It's fine," Ethan said gently. "It's just dinner." But deep down, they both knew. It wasn't just dinner. As they ate, the tension slowly melted into laughter. The woman's name was Claire. Her little boy was Noah. Between bites, she told him their story. How she'd lost her job while caring for her sick mother. And how they'd been evicted a week ago. That night, they had nowhere to go. Ethan listened quietly, his heart heavy with a mix of sadness and empathy. When she finished, she looked down, embarrassed. But Ethan only smiled softly. "Everyone hits rock bottom sometimes," he said. "What matters is who helps you get back up." Claire's eyes filled with tears. "You sound like someone who's been there." "I still am," Ethan said quietly. "But tonight, doesn't feel so lonely anymore." Days passed. What started as one shared meal turned into many. Every evening, Ethan found himself waiting for that familiar sound. The bell above the diner door. And every time, Claire and Noah would walk in. They'd talk, laugh, share stories. And for the first time in years, Ethan felt alive again. He helped Claire find a part-time job. She helped him reconnect with his teenage daughter. And Noah filled his home with the sound of laughter again. But then, life tested them again. Claire's mother passed away suddenly. And just like that, she was gone. No calls. No visits. Just silence. Ethan searched for days. Until he found her sitting at a bus stop in the rain. He walked up quietly, his voice breaking. "Why are you doing this?" She looked up, her eyes red and tired. "Because you don't owe me anything, Ethan." He knelt beside her. "You and Noah reminded me what it means to care again. You gave me something I didn't even know I needed, hope." And there, in the pouring rain, Claire broke down. Ethan wrapped his arms around her. Not with promises, but with understanding. Weeks turned into months. Claire got back on her feet. Noah started school again. And Ethan, the man who once thought he'd always eat alone, now set 3 plates at the dinner table every night. Not because he had to, but because he finally had someone to share it with. One evening, as the sun painted the sky gold, Noah looked up and asked, "Mr. Ethan, are we your family now?" Ethan smiled, his voice trembling. "You've been my family since the night you asked to stay a while." The camera fades out to their laughter, their togetherness, and a quiet reminder. Sometimes, the people who heal your heart don't show up when you're ready. They come when you least expect them. They just need a place to stay for a while.